Just a Jewel with our host, Arthur Malik.
Welcome to Just a Jewel with me, your host, Arthur Malik. Today I have a fantastic guest. She's incredible. She's been through a whole ordeal. She's a survivor. She's everything from a positive perspective. Her name is Marguerita Johnson Tolson. Marguerita, tell me a little bit about yourself so that people can get to know you.
Okay, I was born in Kingston, Jamaica. I came here in 1967. I was raised by my grandmother, who raised us. We was a very poor family, but she raised me with a lot of value. And today, I'm living that value.
So what do you do currently?
Well, right now, I have a bachelor's in social work, but due to a job injury I had in September of 2010, I've decided to go back to Fordham University to pursue my studies and to get my master's, because that is my passion.
Okay, I also understand too that you did a little prison time. Like myself, I did 22 years. So how was it for you as a female doing time?
Well, as a female doing time, I was blessed to get only like 2 to 4. And that 2 to 4 lasted me, I end up doing like 18 months because, of course, I was a role model inmate, and I wanted to come back out in the street and do what I have to do.
Do you mind us asking you, what were you incarcerated for?
I was incarcerated for trafficking drugs from Texas to California, from California to New York, from Florida to New York, and that was my incarceration.
So was that your only arrest?
I had 3 arrests, 3 felonies: California, Texas, and Florida.
For the same offense?
For the same offense.
When did you learn? When did you learn that this wasn't the right thing to do?
I learned when I was incarcerated, because I was diagnosed with depressive mental disorder, bad disorder, and they wanted to give me medication, and I refused their medication. But being that I know I was coming out earlier, I refused the medication, and that's my reason why I refused it.
Because the only reason I asked you that, because when I was incarcerated, I noticed that a lot of people used to say they changed after their first offense, and then they catch their second offense, and then they say they changed again. So you had 3 offenses. So prior to your last offense, did you say that you were going to change and you were ready to change?
Yes, I did.
And what was the obstacle?
You have to be ready for change. I started having grandchildren. And when I had my first grandchildren, and the mother had to bring her to see me, and they had to pass her over a table, I could never see that. I scar my son. I only have 1 child, and I scar him. I wasn't ready to scar another 4, that I am a grandmother of 4 right now.
Okay. So, because this show right here, we're going to talk about some things, and I love it because we're not going to pull any punches, and we're going to be straightforward. You're also in a gay relationship.
Yes, I am.
Tell me some of the barriers that transpire in society because you're in a gay relationship.
Well, not really in society. In America, I didn't feel a barrier. I feel a barrier to my own country. The people in my country, I hid it from my family for almost over a year. But when I started to feel the way I feel, love was pouring out of me. And I mean love of a partner telling me to do the right thing. I finally found a friend who was about telling me to move in the right way, to put my foot in solid grounds. That meant a lot to me. So people look at the gay relationship with all different kind of immoral things in their mind, but the gay relationship is just like having a male as a partner, and he does a lot for you and guide you along a mystic way. And that's how my relationship is guiding me. It's been 20 years now, and I'm loving it.
So prior to engaging in a gay relationship, did you think that it was morally or immorally correct?
No, I was always have friends of all different species. I came here when I was 12 years old.
But as far as engaging in it, do you think it was morally correct or immorally correct?
Well, for me to engage in it, it have to be morally correct for me.
For you, okay. But
Exactly.
I spoke to people, they say that they felt that it was immorally correct but the attachment was so powerful that they just succumbed to it.
Those are people probably you can really mold to do whatever they want. You want them to do. I'm not built like that.
Right.
I'm not built like that. I am my own molder. I mold me. From I went through domestic violence, and ever since I came out of that phase, nobody mold me.
So
I mold myself.
Do you think domestic violence was the cause for you to want to try a gay relationship?
Not really domestic. I would never blame. That's like blaming the abuser. And that's the thing. We keep on blaming the abuser of domestic violence. When do we take the blame? When do the man or the woman take the blame and say, no, it wasn't only him, it was me too?
So what would you blame it on? You wouldn't blame it on a man to push you to mess with a woman? What would you blame it on? What, was you just inquisitive or?
Wanting love,
Wanting.
wanting to feel love. Love is a very many splendid thing. A lot of us, even a man and a woman, don't know what love is. You have to feel love. You got to feel love internally to show it externally. You cannot do anything without doing it internally. You must do it internally to bring it out externally.
Right, okay. Me, myself, because once upon a time, I had a real hatred or dislike, a strong dislike for gays because of my father. When I was younger, we caught my father having sex with a homosexual, and I was real young. So at the time, I was taught, from our neighborhoods, the inner cities, we was taught that this was, nasty, it was disgusting, it was wasn't permissible. But as I matured, I started to thinking that everyone has a choice in life, like my choice, right? I'm not into that, but I respect it. I don't accept it for me, but I respect it for anyone who's accepted for themselves. You see, so I think that's important when I realize that if I have my way of life, I can't force my way of life on anyone. So I think everyone should be privy to their way of life.
Yeah, likewise, I respect people. I don't throw it in people's face, and it takes me a minute to really tell somebody. Most people ask, your friend, and, I'll tell it. But I really respect people's boundary. There's boundaries you have to take, just like in social work. You have to take boundary. You have to make boundary, and.
But how do you feel about the individuals who may be forcing their way of life on like little boys? Because yesterday I was watching a video where there was a guy, he was mic'd up and he went into a club. He had the mic hidden and he went into a club and he was asking older guys, what was the youngest person that you had sexual intercourse with? And some of them, they had gray beards and they said it was 12 years old, 15 years old. And they asked, how old were you? He said, well, I can't speak on that because I'll get arrested. So what do you feel about them, individuals like that, forcing their way on little boys?
Very bitter. I feel very bitter about that because that's not a LGBTQ way of life. And I wouldn't class them in, my community of LGBTQ. We don't do that. This is just immoral and disgraceful and disgusting for the individual.
But they said, I don't know the percentage per se, but they said there's a high percentage that most individuals who are gay has been molested at some time in their life.
Well, they've been molested. That don't mean they've been molested by a gay person. Somebody with immoral thoughts could do that also. It doesn't mean that you're gay so you molest somebody. People with immoral, people are sick. There's sick people in this world. They're not telling you what they're sick with. They just sick. All kind of immorality is bound up in their brain.
What about from a spiritual perspective? Have you get any backlash from like the churches or anything for being in a gay relationship?
Well, I have a church that's accepting of everybody. Even if you're atheist, you're welcome. So my spirituality is not dead. It's built up even more, knowing that I have that foundation. Before, yes, I felt like spiritually I need that guidance. But when I found it, everything just came right together.
I notice you use spirituality opposed to religion. Because religion speaks against
exactly
being gay, but spirituality doesn't.
Spirituality is what you see within yourself, how you live with other people, how you treat other people. And religion does the same thing too, but religion are not always correct. Jesus Christ never turned from none of his people. He never turned away. He said, come on, follow me. You know, he never turned away from his people. So why is religion turning away from us?
Well, because according to religion,
Mm-hmm.
there was a place called Sodom and Gomorrah in the
Mm-hmm.
Bible, and they said it was a town of homosexualities,
Right.
and it was destroyed, predicated on their acts.
Mm-hmm.
But me, I use this to say that if the God that we speak of, he's so compassionate, he's so forgiving, and he instilled our free will. So if he instilled the free will to this people, why would he kill them for practicing their free will? So that I can't accept, and that's why I say it's imperative that I believe that the Creator loves all humanity.
Mm-hmm. And on that note, I was going to say that God had to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah because the people went down there. God gave them a land for themselves. Sodom and Gomorrah was given to them. But when they started reaping the sweets of the land, they start worshiping false idols down there. He had to destroy them. You can't not own nothing that God gave to you. What God gave to you, you got to bless it
He owned it, that's right.
and own it. Yes, right.
So let's talk about some of your work with the children. You also work with children. You have classes that you attend, and you're trying to give them some upliftment. Let's talk a little bit about that. What is it actually you do with your children?
Well, all right. I'm doing my internship at the AJS Wellness Community Center in New Rochelle, and these are young kids that some of them is going through anger problem, some of them is going through driving while intoxicated or driving under the influence. Woman is getting pulled over a lot for drunk driving. So I want to give something back to these children, that there's life. Among all this adversity that they're facing, there is another life.
What is the barrier? What do you think the barrier is with the children today?
Not enough people to be talking. See, adults don't find the time to talk to children like they should. If it's not their children, even if it's their children, they don't find the time for children. They find the time for other things. Mothers find the time for putting on a new dress. She's keep quiet in her room for 5 minutes to put on a new dress, to talk to her boyfriend on the phone. Where does the children come in?
One of the quotes that I put up on Facebook, and I remember vividly, is that I said a parent who forgets that they were once a child is the worst parent.
Exactly.
So I think it's important that we realize that we were once children, and I think that
Yes.
we can bridge that gap that
Yes.
exists between us and the children.
Of course. And it's the people that go through certain adversity that really knows this and really try to make a better child out of any child, because we want to see goodness. We want to see goodness in ourselves. And in order for us to see goodness in ourselves, we use as a child to bring him up in the manner of how we would want to raise up. So it raised him up and it raised us up also.
Right. Okay. So it's predicated on love. Everything is love with you, huh?
Love. It's just love.
Are they receptive? In your classes, are they receptive to the love that you give them? Because a lot of times when people aren't used to love, when they receive love, they don't know how to treat it, and they normally push it away. So are the children receptive to the love that you
Some of
present?
them are, but you know, you get them. It's like putting a bait on a fishing hook and throwing it out there. The fish don't bite it at first, but you throw it back and he nibble, you know.
Keep trying.
And these kids are just like that. They are helpless. They want someone to talk to. When they see somebody want to talk to them, they in awe. Does she really want to talk to me? They don't know, because they don't have this thing at home. So when they see it, they try to rebel. But when you push yourself more in, the more they push you out, you're pushing in. They feel that acceptance. Children know.
Absolutely. What or who said something to you that deterred you from doing wrong? Was
You
it a
know-
situation or a person who said something to you, if you can remember, that deterred you from doing wrong, that said, I have to get my life together?
You know, honestly, and to be truthful, I would say society and how they looked at me, and how they really, you know, say that I wouldn't fare out to anything good. I was always good. I always have good jobs. That's why I was able to do what I did, you know, in the beginning. But when I look at it, I said, you know what? I'm 63 years old. I'm going to go back to school for my master's.
You're 63 now.
63 years old,
Wow, that's
and I'm
phenomenal.
going to Fordham University to obtain my master's
In what?
in social work.
In social
That's
work.
my life. Social work is about life.
Mm.
It's about changing life.
What else you doing for the social perspective?
I rally for a lot of causes. I'm with the social workers against solitary confinement.
Mm.
I'm anti-racist. I'm with the antiracist.org. We do it on the People's Survival Alliance. And I'm also in another social work forum for SWAS. We call it SWAS. I volunteer for Westpac. I do a lot of things for Westpac. I'm with the Westchester Coalition for Police Reform.
Mm. So you're anti-racist.
Mm-hmm.
Anti-racist. I have to ask you, because being from Jamaica,
Mm-hmm.
was there once upon a time that you had a dislike for white people?
But I came here at a very young age.
So did you ever in your life had a dislike for white people?
No, because most of my friends, I like white people. I like a little bit of everything around me. I've always been like that.
I think when I was younger,
Mm-hmm.
I was in my state of ignorance.
Mm-hmm.
I disliked white people. Every time they showed the movie Roots, you remember when they used to show Roots
Oh,
back in
yeah.
the days? I used to watch that, and I had a distaste for white people.
Yeah.
But prior to that, I had a white friend
Mm-hmm.
that I loved. He was my white friend. We was cool. We went to camp together and everything. But when I seen these negative images, they always made me think negative.
Yeah.
But then as I matured, and now I come to the realization that there's more white people. There's so many white people right now that's fighting more for black rights
Exactly.
than black people are.
That's right, Malik. And I want to say on that, I was always a lover of history. History is one of my favorite subjects. And I used to read up on the Quakers,
Right,
like
right.
when Harriet Tubman with the Underground Railroad and the Quakers helped her out. They was rich United Methodist people, and they helped her out. These people are white, the Quakers.
Right.
So I was always in love with white race. Yes, I understand roots and back in the days, roots and white people, but it's not every white person.
No, but when
Yes.
you're ignorant and it's subliminal seduction. When they put in these negative signs in your head, they put in these,
Right.
the white man did this, the white man had you in slavery, the white man did this, the white man
Yes.
won't let you capitalize, the white man won't give you a job, the white man, they keep blaming, they put these negative things in your head, and as a child, as a kid, you embrace them. And then when you mature, you realize that, wow, all this time that you were thinking negative about someone who didn't deserve it.
Right.
Because there's negative people, black and white. So I think it's
Yes.
imperative that we understand the characteristics of the people prior to their skin color.
Right, that's right. And I agree with that 100%. But I was never like a hateful person where I hate, because I have friends that was white. So that didn't really come across to me like that. But I know that you're right. What you're saying is totally right.
It's amazing because it just shows the transition that people can make. That's you can be hating, and that's why I believe that when you love a thing, you should love it with a balance.
Yes.
When you
don't
hate a
hurt it.
thing, you should hate it with a balance, because one day that thing that you hate, you might love.
Exactly.
And one day that thing you love, you might hate. So I think it has to be a
Exactly.
balance that we have to place.
That's right. I have a puppy, and I never knew I would live with a dog in my house.
Right.
Because in Jamaica, we used to keeping a dog on the outside in the yard, we call it. Now I have a puppy. I love him. I turn him in my service dog. That means when I go away, I take him with me. I don't want to leave him in the pound or anywhere for them to put him in one of them things that look like a cage. Not my puppy.
Right.
So I treat my puppy like a human. Just now I had a hard time coming here. He would not let me cross the door. My puppy is like a human, and I love him like a human. So love is something that you got to embrace. Telling somebody you love them, don't be afraid to tell them. You might be the only one for today. Let's say I love you.
I think that's very important. I think that's very important. I agree with that 100%. But I think love differs from people. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Love differs. I think you have to be on the same understanding when it comes to love.
Yes, when it comes to love.
Because some people love is abuse.
Yes,
They've been
it's
so used to being
abuseful.
abused, they think that is love.
Oh,
You know what I'm saying?
yes.
So they don't understand the rose instead of the thorn. You know? So,
Like this right here is love.
This is love?
This, what's done right here, is out of love.
Right.
It's out of love. And if we didn't have love, we wouldn't be right here.
I agree.
Okay?
What would you like your eulogy, or what would you like your legacy to be? Right now, if you had to give your own eulogy, what would you want said about you?
A woman that showed love to all youths. A woman that embraced youths from the bottom of her heart. Whenever she says something to a youth, she always comes through for them. She's always proud of her youth. She always believes in them. She always showed them that we all have a purpose, and they do too. No matter what the adversity, you have a purpose, and you got to live by a purpose. If I didn't know you have a purpose, Arthur Malik, I would not be here today. I fell and I injured myself, but I'm still here with you today.
Yeah,
So
I definitely want to
it's
commend
out
you
of
for
love.
that. She just,
Yeah.
you hurt your lip, you swole your lip up, and you're
Yeah.
still here. That's
Yes.
just showing that strength. I call you Sister Soldier, anything.
Yes.
So you
Every
always
time
show
I
up.
want it.
Yeah, you on it, and I definitely appreciate you for that, because you
Yes.
definitely illustrate love.
Yes.
I appreciate
love
that.
is
Love.
what's up. If you don't have love, can't have nothing else.
But how do you penetrate that wall that from a person that haven't been loved before? How do you penetrate that wall? Because if you haven't been loved before, you put up a wall.
Yes, and you know what? You was born with love. You was created with love. You was created out of love. So if you want to be something, you got to feel love. I fight to feel love. I'll argue to feel love. Love is love, and it cannot be changed to anything else.
But how do you, it's a barrier. Like me, I didn't understand, or I didn't feel that I received love until I was in my 40s, right? Because as a kid, I came from an abusive household and things. So how do you break that particular barrier down when you have to try to give someone love who never received it or felt as if they never received it?
You know what? You can't have something you wasn't born with. You have to be born with this thing for it to be reinstilled in you. It's like a car. If it's run out of gas, it won't move. But if you put gas in there, it will move. Well, love is like that. Because when I read your book, it's the same exact thing my son went through. Your book mesmerized me because it brings back so much memory. And I'm like, my son, I said, you got to read this book. Because he went through the same exact thing.
Wow.
And look, he's finding love. Look at you. You're finding love. You're hanging with people that have love.
Right.
I sure have love.
Right.
You talk to me all the time. Right. So love is something that you was born with. It's an inborn conception. You was born with it.
Okay, you just had to find those individuals to bring it out of you.
Yes.
Okay, so that's beautiful. That's beautiful. Okay, so you have to break that barrier down.
Yes.
Okay.
And sometimes we don't see our purpose. It takes someone else to tell us we have this purpose-driven life.
And your purpose is to show people their purpose.
Yes.
Similar to mine. I think that's my purpose in life, to show people their purpose.
Yes.
Okay. Before we close out, would you like to leave the guests with anything? The guests that's watching us, would you like to tell them anything that they should take with them and keep with them, and maybe it can help transform them?
Sure. I'd like to leave my ladies, my women at least, men also, with the perspective of holding on to love, finding love, and know when you have love. Also, I'd like to leave them with the antiracist.alliance.org website. If they would go look on the People Survive for Survival and Beyond, look at our website. And we need all the social workers, even if you're not a social worker, please join with us in fighting against solitary confinement, mass incarceration.
And I just want to say to the individuals that's listening, the guests that's listening, the audience that's listening, is that you have to remember, no one wants their way of life forced on someone else. Me, I was a hateful individual. I hated certain people. I hated homosexuals. I hated white people. But now I come to the realization that those particular hates is wrong. It's wrong to hate someone because they are not you. You would never want anyone to hate you for not being yourself. So we have to give that same things to other individuals who wish to be themselves, and this is their decision in life, so we have to respect it. Just remember, respect doesn't mean accept. So you don't have to accept it for yourself, but you should always respect it. Just a Jewel with Arthur Malik.
Just a Jewel with our host, Arthur Malik.